And as I was getting into things and learning about as much as I could, I called peers as much as possible. I read the documentation from cover to cover. So if you haven't read NIST Special Publication 800-37, if you haven't read NIST Special Publication Act 800-53, 53A, and if you haven't done those things, then you definitely are going to set yourself up for failure.
So I know the military had a lot of good benefits also. I mean, with certifications, with the clearance, with putting you with the right people. Can you explain?
Yeah, I paid nothing for my undergrad degree.
Okay.
I've paid for 0 of my certifications, and I have CISSP, CEH, CAS Plus. They changed the name on that one. Security Plus, Network Plus, A Plus. And I have the CMMC certification, but I paid for that one. Right. Yeah, a lot of people don't know, and a lot of people are afraid to actually come into the space and take the opportunity. And I think that people have to get out of that mindset that it's going to be an issue that they cannot get a clearance, that they may not be able to get a clearance. But there are several people that have top secret with all the caveats and get special access to stuff. And they've done some wild stuff, some wild things. Yeah. I think that if you're using tools like Tenable Nessus, and I'm saying Tenable Nessus because some people call it ACAS, I've heard EVS, I've heard several different names. So if you're using that tool, you have the ability to perform SCAP scans or configuration scans on there. And as a GRC specialist, that's where you would be the person that should really get a great understanding of how that tool works. If you don't know how the tool fully works, at least understand how to read the reports.
Look, you probably have a Security Plus, maybe even a security clearance, but nobody taught you how to write poems, or how to test a security control, or submit an ATO package. I'm Chris Okpala. A few years ago, I was in your shoes, qualified on paper, but completely lost when it came to RMF. I had the degree, I had the certs, I had the drive, but when somebody said how to test the AC2 control or validate STIG findings, I had no clue what that actually looked like. Fast forward 5 years, I worked across DoD and federal agencies, led control assessments, written ATO package, and passed audits. That's why I built RMF Academy, to teach you the real-world execution they don't cover in certification books. Inside, I'll show you how to write a poem that don't get bashed back, test and validate security controls, translate tech jargon, navigate NIST 853 and RMF with confidence. If you're in IT supporting the government systems or stuck on the edge of cybersecurity, this is your way. The people who go through my training don't just get hired, they hit the ground running because they practice the work before day one. Go to rmfacademy.io and let's get to work. Welcome everybody to another edition of the Tech Woke Podcast. I'm your host, Chris, an RMF specialist inside the GovTech space. And in today's podcast, we have a great guest today. He reached out to me, we connected, we talked. We have a lot of things in common, whether it's faith, talking about tech, things like that. His name is Derron King. He's a CMMC specialist, an RMF specialist. He owns his own company called Seed in the GovTech space. He's also been in the military for a long time, has done a lot of work in this space, and without further ado, Derron King, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, it was good having you on. How was the drive?
It was terrible. No. It's DC, so you get a little bit of traffic, you pay the tolls, it'll be okay.
Yeah, stop and go. You're looking at some people shooting fireworks at you, people trying to do the squeegee boys, so I know. So I was worried about you. I was like, let me tap in with you real quick. So, I appreciate you coming on. I know we talked, and I love that you, have faith, you love tech. So we're just going to get straight into it. So for the audience, can you kind of explain in plain terms, what do you do?
Yeah, so primarily I've been focusing with small businesses in the defense industrial base, helping them implement CMMC. And CMMC being the Cybersecurity Maturity Model certification. It's like the child to RMF. Because they took the moderate confidentiality or moderate impact level RMF controls and put that into a new framework and called it CMMC with some tailoring. So that's what I do. I help a lot of those small businesses, primarily small and micro small, so that they are able to actually continue doing what they want to do in the government contracting space.
Okay, that's good. So that's a interesting topic because I hear about CMMC a lot. A lot of people's transferring over to do that and focus on it. There's a lot of money to be made doing that for contracting. I'm not sure, like even for working for regular contracting companies, it's a lot going on with that. So CMMC is basically like the framework for a third party. If people want to work outside the government or companies that want to work for the government.
Yeah, it's any defense contractors. Right now it's focused, it's DOD that's put it out. So only defense contractors that store, process, or transmit controlled unclassified information. So any of them that do that on their corporate systems, those corporate systems have to be secured according to those requirements.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, I was talking to Derek a long time ago about that, so I know there's a lot of issues with that. If you fail one thing, you fail everything. It's a lot of money involved.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's a big topic. So what sparked your interest in cybersecurity? Period.
Yeah, I never wanted to do cybersecurity.
Oh, you did?
A day in my life.
Oh, you did?
Never wanted to do cybersecurity. The thing that drove me into it, I was joining the military and I wanted to be a load master off the back of aircraft, shooting guns and all that type of stuff. But it turned out the Air Force said, we don't want you to do that. We want you to go and do these computers. And the most I knew at that time was how to burn CDs. So my family thought I was a genius. I was like, I know nothing about this, but it ended up working out very well. After I went through technical training and everything, I got my very first job. It was at Joint Base Andrews, where I was doing defensive cyber for the blue and white jets that we have there, Air Force One, Air Force Two.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Stuff like that, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that was a great experience my first day walking in, they're like, hey, Air Force One's on the phone.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, okay, that's something cool to hear. But after that, I spent a little bit of time going to crypto, and that's when I really thought I never wanted to stay in this career field at all.
Okay.
But a few things happened, and I got another kick, and GRC came into the picture a lot more.
Okay, yeah, that's amazing because you're on the outside looking in, you're in the military. Next thing you know, you're in Air Force, and Air Force One, that's the White House, right?
Pardon?
That's the White House. That's the White House.
Waka does a lot of that.
Okay, well, I know Waka. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you're doing all this. I know it sparked your interest, and I know you. So what were you doing? You was doing RMF, GRC stuff when you was in the military, when you started?
Yeah. So I had a 12-year career where I was able to do everything from satellite-based cybersecurity and RMF, aircraft, weapon systems, mobile applications, general network architectures that are normal infrastructure. So I've done the full gambit of things, and it was the best experience ever to get exposure to all those different environments. And that gave me the ability to speak to a lot of different areas and operate with different pieces of technology.
So I know with the military, it had a lot of good benefits also. With certifications, with the clearance, with putting you with the right people. Can you explain?
Yeah, I paid nothing for my undergrad degree.
Okay.
I've paid for 0 of my certifications, and I have CISSP, CEH, CAS Plus. They changed the name on that one. Security Plus, Network Plus, A Plus, and I have the CMMC certification, but I paid for that one because I didn't want the government to say I was using their resources for my personal gain. But yeah, they paid for all of those, every single course that I've gone to for those, and even some more advanced training that I've had. So it's been amazing.
Yeah, that's blessing with certifications. I'm doing the CSSP, and I'm like, man, this is taking a lot of money. I'm like, is it worth it? But it's, even with me, I kind of do regret that, because when my father was telling me, he was kind of sliding it. I think he was trying to kick me out or something. He's like, slide, you might want to join this military. But really, I should have just did it, and I probably would have been good for a long time. But it is. And then even with clearances, I didn't even know what clearances was, a top secret. I didn't know how beneficial it was. I just thought they were just doing a background check. So
Right. Yeah. A lot of people don't know. And a lot of people are afraid to actually come into the space and take the opportunity. And I think that people have to get out of that mindset that it's going to be an issue that they cannot get a clearance, that they may not be able to get a clearance. But there are several people that have top secret with all the caveats and get special access to stuff. And they've done some wild stuff, some wild things. Yeah. So I don't think people should limit themselves because of fear. So they have to step out in faith and believe that they'll be able to achieve what they have.
Yeah, and it's not for everybody. Working in this space is not for everybody.
No, it's not.
It's not. Because when I first got in, it's like, you got to say, yes, sir. Sometimes you can't even talk. For me, as a contractor, I can't even talk to, you was in federal work. I can't even talk to y'all sometimes, to be honest with you. Or sometimes you get ignored just trying to talk to somebody. So you know how it is. So, yeah, it's not. And if you have some type of, what's that called? Authority issues, I wouldn't even do it,
A lot of people always say, oh, man, if a drill sergeant get in my face, I want to punch him. And I was like, I did see a recent report that somebody actually did that. They're in jail now.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of people, you should, I think that's a character flaw then that somebody knows they have and they never want to work on. If you believe you have that, then that's something that you may want to deal with in the first place. But other than that, going into this space and in the active duty military world or guard or reserve, whatever it may be, it can be fantastic for a lot of people as long as you end up taking advantage of the opportunities you're given.
Okay, now I understand. So when you was working in this RMF space, I know you did some years doing RMF. Can you explain, because when I first got into the field, you know how difficult it can be? You're basically a manager. You have to deal with tested controls. You have to deal with POAMs. You have to do, just explaining some of this stuff to people that don't even know what a risk management framework is. Can you kind of explain your experience when you first was doing this role?
Yeah, I was thrown into this role and I never knew that I was going into it. So I showed up in England to a job that I was supposed to be working in crypto and ComSec. And I was like, okay, I can deal with that, no problem. They sent me to school to be a ComSec account manager. As I was at school, they called me and said, by the way, this other base that was taking care of all the RMF for us, for all 6 of our packages, they're not going to do it anymore. So now you and this other guy and 2 junior airmen are going to now have to take care of all of these records, and you need to get them done in 12 months.
Oh, man.
So that was my welcome to RMF, big introduction. And as I was getting into things and learning about as much as I could, I called peers as much as possible. I read the documentation from cover to cover. So if you haven't read NIST Special Publication 800-37, if you haven't read NIST Special Publication 800-53, 53A, and if you haven't done those things, then you definitely are going to set yourself up for failure. But that's what I did. I took the initiative to do those things, and we were able to work things out with our security control assessor, and you beg and plead and say, I'm new to this, please give me some grace. We were able to, they had an expedited process that no one knew about, and we were able to get all 6 of those systems accredited within 11 months.
Yeah, I would get up and praise you because 6, some people can't even do. I had issues just doing 1, maybe 2, but 6, man, because you got to create documentation.
Yes.
Oh, man.
So that's where we learned that there were, for 853 Rev 4, there were templates out there with this company, iAssure. They're free, publicly available, and you can probably still use them for Rev 5 right now as long as you tailor them for those controls. But we use that documentation as our template base to get things going for us. And we also engaged our leadership in a timely manner so that they were getting on board with everything we were doing. Because as soon as I come in and I tell our system administrators, all of these accounts need to look like this, and they need consistent naming conventions, and we need artifacts from you now about how we're actively doing endpoint detection and response. Like, those types of things are, they're very technical aspects of it, but you just have to have the right mindset and the ability to communicate effectively, and everyone will get on board.
Yeah, because that's what my issue is. When you come on a new program, sometimes they're doing things the wrong way. And it can take months just to get them to trust you, number one, and then to get it done the right way. And sometimes even starting new systems, you guys got to learn how to properly communicate it. Just kind of talk like a child. That's why I kind of like this podcast, because it taught me how to break things down in a simple way, you know?
And I think that relationships are foundational to almost anything. If anybody wants a job in the first place, a lot of times it's not the person that has the highest qualifications, and people may see that as a flaw in the system, but I think that's your means that you need to understand. That's your ticket to opportunity, is your relationships. So I've leveraged relationships throughout my entire time. So if I go into a team that's already doing something and they're doing it wrong, usually I sit down and lead with curiosity. And if I lead with curiosity and try to understand, hey, what is it that you're working on? What is it that you're doing? Why do you do that process that way? And we laugh and we joke, and I really just try to get to know them. By the time I come back and then I tell them, hey, you actually doing that wrong and you need to fix this, then they're like, oh, okay, I'm less defensive now because I've built a rapport with you before you've come over here to tell me that I actually suck at my job.
Yeah, like even with me, like I had some issues. I sucked at my job at first, and I was doing things, I wasn't talking right. So my government project manager actually sat down to me. He asked me, Chris, do you know what's going on? I said, yeah, I know. He said, Chris, do you know what's going on? I just said, no, I don't know. Listen, after every meeting, every time it's shaky, I'm gonna sit there and break it down to you. And then after that, I learned just sometimes it's okay just to say you don't know. You know, they'll give you grace, and then they'll give you time to learn. And then also when you said talking to certain individuals, if I sit down and talk to them and build rapport, they're less like, even though I was having issues with the Scar. This Scar's smart as a whip. So he knows when you don't know. He'll get on you more if you don't know and you don't want to admit it. The minute I told him that, I never had issues with him to this day. I'll actually come, can you give me some advice? Yeah. So that's what I've learned. Sometimes it's just okay to not know, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time like that because, of course, I said I've done several different types of technology and mission systems. And typically I go in and I try to find the smartest person I can on that piece of technology. And I'm like, can you teach me this? Help me understand what this is, because I understand that we're supposed to implement multi-factor authentication, but this type of technology, can you implement multi-factor? Have you done this historically? And how is it that I can understand how you've done that historically and how we can possibly get that way and get to that place in the future? And I found that definitely has led me to a greater understanding of the mission that I'm supporting, the technology that I'm working on, and how I can be more effective in administering a proper risk management program around that.
Yeah, and in doing that, it helps you build connects for life, don't it?
Yeah.
You know, so they never gonna question you, and they be like, man, this man was killing it.
Yeah.
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 So.
That happened to me. I showed up into my previous job, and I already knew RMF well enough, but I didn't know them on satellites and stuff like that. So when I showed up, I was like, hey, I don't understand this technology fully, but I truly do understand the risk management framework. What I need your help in is to make sure that I understand the technology, and I'm going to ask very direct and detailed questions so that I gain a better understanding of the technology, so that I can apply my RMF knowledge to the technology, and then later on apply my knowledge of the technology to my recommendations and decisions in the future.
Not about that. So like with RMF, because I talked to so many people about how to get into RMF, how to get into GRC, but we both know that the trends are changing. It's changing over time. So we got CMMC, that's a new one that they got. We also got the NIST created an AI framework. We also know that, you know, the cloud is becoming more popular. So like, what are some trends you think people should lock in to gain more into the field? Because it's harder to get more jobs nowadays.
Yes. I think one thing that we need to begin saying in the GRC space is you need technical knowledge and you need technical ability at the same time. Because one of the things that you can leverage as a GRC specialist whenever you're going into a software development project is, how do I effectively get after performing management of my infrastructure or oversight of a program with infrastructure as code? How do I get into that? Because if you're into that as the GRC specialist, you're able to then actively participate in configuration management. And if we don't think about it that way, then we're definitely going to set ourselves up for failure, and you're not going to be prepared for an interview when someone finally has those types of conversations with you, because there's almost no job that you're going to now, except a lot of legacy ones, where you're not talking about software development.
Yeah.
Because that's something that's been historically not thought about as much in this space, and definitely has been a complete niche in the GRC space. A lot of developers have come into the GRC space because they were developers and they were the only ones that understood the technology well enough. But if you're actually able to speak to those things, you're opening yourself up to a wealth of opportunity. And if you're not able to leverage AI, if you're in a environment that you can leverage AI to ask your questions and better respond to control implementation statements, that would be something that you definitely need to do. And simple learning about prompt engineering will help someone do that.
Yeah, because are you talking about with AI prompt engineering?
Yes.
So is that and how is that trend coming in the government space? I know we have stuff like Nipper GPT.
Yeah.
Can you prompt engineer that right now, or are you?
Most of those are built upon one of the foundational models.
Okay.
So if you're using one of the foundational models, it's pretty much going to be similar. A lot of the training data probably won't be as up to par, and a lot of the context window might not be the longest, so you might not be able to get a longer response or give more information to get a better response, and you might have to break that up into pieces. But yes, you can do it. Most agencies, and then they have several other products that Department of the Army is pushing now, for example, that you're able to utilize those to effectively get after what you want.
So what you're saying is you got to learn some code.
You should learn some
code.
Yep.
You should learn probably like prompt engineering to kind of make yourself relevant for the position, especially with documentation, things like that. And what about automation?
Oh,
so is that a way?
Yeah, I think that goes into that infrastructure as code is what I was thinking about earlier. If you are looking at tools like Ansible or you're looking at tools like Terraform, right? Those are all going to support the automation and building of your infrastructure and configuring of your infrastructure. And if you're utilizing those effectively and to the fullest extent, I think that you being the GRC specialist, a part of that team, are able to effectively influence and continuously monitor and maintain the security of your environment and maintain your system to the accredited level as well. So if you've told the security control assessor and authorizing official, I am going to ensure that all of our Red Hat systems are able to do X, Y, and Z, then you should be a part of that process to make sure that the image is being deployed into your virtualized infrastructure, your infrastructure that's physical, that it's actually able to satisfy exactly what you said.
Yeah, because like sometimes I'm on systems like EMAS, and if there's a way I can just see it automatically or something connected, like you were saying, that's what you was getting at. Yeah, and that would make a lot of things simpler.
Yeah, I think that if you're using tools like Tenable Nessus, and I'm saying Tenable Nessus because some people call it ACAS, I've heard EVS, I've heard several different names. So if you're using that tool, you have the ability to perform SCAP scans or configuration scans on there. And as a GRC specialist, that's where you would be the person that should really get a great understanding of how that tool works. If you don't know how the tool fully works, at least understand how to read the reports. Once you're able to do that, then you're able to catch things a lot sooner and respond to them more effectively, and you'll have a more directed approach rather than such a broad, hey, these systems aren't configured appropriately. Well, to be effective, you have to say what systems are configured appropriately and what can we do to resolve that.
Yeah, so what you're saying is technical is the new way, and that's how it's evolving, because you need to get it done. Because I have a lot of friends, and they're system administrators, right? So they're trying to get into RMF, and I'm like, do you have a better advantage over me because you understand how these systems work, and you can go do it?
They 100% do.
Yeah.
So part of my job in one of my first jobs, I actually was the one to configure, deploy, monitor, implement, execute scanning, manage the endpoint. HBSS is what we call it. I think they still calling it and trying to change the name of it. But I was the one to actually deploy those types of solutions, manage those types of solutions, and respond to anything going on with them.
So how did you get into it? Did you want to get into it to learn better, or you just kind of seemed like you was at a dead end and it was like, I need to get more knowledge? Or
yeah, so I started off doing the sysadmin network defense incident response type role. So monitoring firewalls, endpoint tools, I started off doing that. So when I got into the GRC space more, I could call BS if I saw something
instantly.
So if they were telling me, oh, this tool isn't capable of actually helping us determine exactly where the scanner is looking within the file system for HBSS results. I was like, okay, pull up the security center then. And as they pulled up the security center, I was like, this right here, when you drill down, it shows me exactly what this was looking for. So if you look at Log4j, everybody knows that was one of the big ones, right?
It's still big.
It still is a thing that's being exploited right now. So if you look at that, everyone was like, oh, Tenable is just scanning it randomly and we're not able to tell what it's actually looking for. So we think we have false positives. I was like, well, how do we determine if we're having false positives? And if you look at the drill down, you'll actually find that it looked in this file on this system, and now we're able to tell whether that's a true false positive or if it's a true positive or not.
We need you. Because we broke that down. Because I'm still trying to figure out why is it still popping up.
Yeah, it's a lot of people, they didn't drill down into those things, and then looking at vendor documentation, that enabled you to actually have a more well-rounded response to that vulnerability.
So Derron, like, doing the job as a RMF specialist, we deal with POAMs, we deal with documentation. I've been kind of looking into a lot of different topics now, like the CATO, because like even with POAMs documentation, I think it all should be automated at some point. So I do think a continuous ATO in general, not off just the DevOps version or that version, but I think it should be continuous because like it's continuous monitoring. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's actually the way that everyone needs to think. So if you are running a program right now, and if you don't see I'm still using ACAS as a great example. If you don't see your ACAS scans and that's your vulnerability and your configuration aspect of them, or if you're not looking at HBSS as all tools that can enable continuous monitoring, I don't think you're looking effectively at your program right now, because your continuous monitoring program should be, for the most part, hands off.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is it's not going to be that you're technically reviewing word by word every single control response and every single assessment procedure. It should be that you're utilizing those tools to ensure that you're maintaining your infrastructure exactly how you said you would. And if a change is going to happen, your change management board and your configuration advisory boards, however you want to call it, that should be another vector that maintains your infrastructure or maintains awareness of your infrastructure so that you can have a continuous ATO.
Yeah, and I agree, because if they can find a way to do that for EMAS, or to be honest with you, EMAS is probably gonna get outdated at some point, or just create a new software. But I do think like that can take out a lot of jobs too.
Well, I think everybody should take the time to probably start keeping an eye out, because the DoD just released RFI for the next way of doing RMF in the DoD. So with that coming out, I think that should be a wake-up call to everybody in the space to say, well, I need to understand what's happening so that I can be on that train moving forward.
And I'm glad you talking about Swift.
That was one of them. That was one of them. They just released another one at the end of June. I believe the response is due the end of July, but they just released that one as well.
Oh, I didn't know.
The Swift is a software fast track.
That's a software fast track.
Yeah.
And then say the other one was called again?
It's RMF revamp, RFI.
I gotta check that out.
So if anybody goes on sam.gov, and it's out there.
I know you probably already bid it already. You put your bid already.
I have been tracked.
So with that, like with AI, RMF is going to be a very automated space pretty much soon with documentation, everything. This guy, he has this software called AxSage. I'm not sure if you have heard of it.
Nicholas.
Yeah.
Shalon.
He's a dog. And he's always on LinkedIn going crazy, but that software, I watched the demo on it. It does the whole package. I think in like 10 minutes.
It's very thorough. So AskSage, so Nicholas Shalon, I think is how you pronounce his last name. He used to be the Air Force Chief Software Officer. And then he had that role kind of with the DoD as well. And then left with a very colorful and public statement. So when he did that, he started AskSage, and he said that AskSage not only wrote itself, but wrote its FedRAMP package for the most part as well.
Dang.
So if we're seeing that, we need to understand that this is the wave of the future, and things that are being automated we need to understand how they may be and how we can effectively bring ourselves into that space as well.
Yeah, because seeing this, I'm always on trends. I'm always on LinkedIn posting. It's like, I really see it at this point. I think we only got like, for people that's non-technical, I'm non-technical right now. I still call myself technical and I understand some of the language or can talk up to the language, but within like a year or two, it's going to wipe out a lot of the space for RMF. Like AxSage is deadly.
Yes, it is. And that's why I think we all need to still effectively focus on all the aspects of RMF that we're doing right now, but also upskill ourselves or at least keep ourselves very knowledgeable about how is it that we can advance our skill sets so that we can enable the process even more.
So what I'm getting from you is it's not just knowing how to do FedRAMP or knowing how to do RMF. You just got to really tie into the technical skills now.
Yeah.
To get to where you need to go,
Yes.
Yeah. Or you can hang on to the legacy, but it's only how long can you last?
Yeah. But I think there's still going to be the need for now until, I think it's until like an augmented intelligence actually gets in place fully. But I think you still need that human element to understand how to balance risk. And that's really what we're talking about with RMF, not just checking boxes for compliance, but we're really looking at overall, how do we evaluate, quantify, or qualify risk? And a lot of programs don't do that. If we start doing it, then we'll be even more effective in performing our roles.
Yeah, even with that, even with quantum is starting to come into the space too. And I think they're trying to create their own framework for that. It's frameworks galore, So
yes. So GRC has space.
Yeah.
Like it's growing ever more. So if you can understand it, then please keep going at it. And try to bring other people into it.
Okay, I want to touch on a couple more topics on RMF. Like how much money can you make, like in general, just to satisfy? Because people are just curious.
Yeah, I have heard of roles paying up to in the DMV, right, up to about $240.
That's the limit.
That's about the max of what I've seen for the most part. And if you come in and you're doing more technical things and doing some RMF stuff, the sky's the limit, right? You can do a lot better than that.
And that's a perfect segue because it's like, okay, you can work in this space for a while, but you're gonna get cut off at a limit, even with taxes. So just to tailor it to you, like what made you want to transfer over to own? Because you work for yourself, right?
Yep.
Like legit for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Did faith had anything to do with that, or like explain that process?
Yeah, I think that it really did. And he who finds a wife finds a good thing.
Yeah.
And I have found a wife that's highly supportive of everything that I'm doing, even though she doesn't understand everything. And when she tells people what I do for work, she says he does something in policy. I don't do it. That's not the gig, right? But to go into my own thing, it was challenging. And I did a portion of it while I was still active duty and while I was still in government. And as I was doing that transition out, I found that, it's very challenging to do these things, especially trying to find that life-work balance. It doesn't exist for the most part. It's just about what do I give more time to today and what can I give more time to tomorrow.
Okay, it's like for your wife, for example, I understand, trust me, I understand when it comes to business, sometimes you're going to be up all night.
Yeah.
You got to learn technical things. You're going to have to even go to networking events or sometimes even just go somewhere. How did she come to understand that process?
Oh, she was just supportive from the beginning.
Oh, just there.
Just there from the beginning. But I think that it did take a lot of intentional conversations and a lot of planning to make sure, because we have a little one as well. We have a 3-year-old, so that's even more stress, I guess, for many. But I think we had a lot of intentional conversations to map out what those things are going to look like. Every month, we would sit down and say, all right, these are the events that I'm considering going to. Let's make sure that we plan our schedule around that. And yes, it is a lot of long nights. A lot of early mornings and tiring days, shaking hands and kissing babies.
All day.
All day.
So like, how did you, so explain the process, like, when did you know you wanted to get into government contracting, and explain, like, when did you get your first actual paid role?
I knew I wanted to go into government contracting when I knew I was going to transition out of the military.
Okay.
And that's just the natural transition for most of us anyway, because you get your clearance. You never want to let that go for the most part, because as long as you have that clearance, you have even more opportunities available to you. So even if you step out for a year, maybe 2 years, as long as you come back into space before that time is up, your clearance is still good and you can keep on working. So I knew that I wanted to do that at that point. However, I got my first opportunity after I was leaving the military. And that first opportunity was through a relationship.
So you just built, okay, so you was intentional about killing your job, making sure you did a lot of work.
Yeah.
And then you got a relationship out of that.
Yeah.
And that's how I hear a lot of people get their first opportunity.
Yeah. And that's everybody's first opportunity. Well, I won't say it's everyone's first opportunity, but that's the most likely way for someone to get any opportunity at all is through your relationships and leveraging them effectively. And those relationships, I have a friend right now, she just got a new job that nearly double her salary, right? And she was like, I'm not qualified for this position. But the person that was in the company knew her already from 5 years ago, saw how hard she worked in that role, and recommended her for that position.
That's how you do it. And that's how the employment is going right now.
Yes.
You're not getting a job just by applying. Everybody I know got a job, they know somebody. Or they did like 20 coffee chats on LinkedIn.
Yeah. And I tell everybody this. Cold message somebody on email, on LinkedIn.
That's how you, I was like,
send somebody a message. Send somebody a message on LinkedIn or something. And my wife says, she always says, send 3 people to 5 people a message. It's going to seem weird for you to do that, but don't make it long-winded. Don't do all these extra pats on the back for somebody in the beginning. Just say, hey, this is me. This is what I'm looking for. I've been trying these things. I just want to know if I can pick your brain. That's easy. A lot of people are very excited to speak about themselves and about their profession. So if you give them an opportunity to do that, inject yourself into that conversation a bit and build rapport with them, they'll more than likely be open to recommending you for a role.
Yeah, like even when you reached out, I was like, okay, because I'm dazed out. I heard the same thing like 20 times on LinkedIn, man. Hey, I need this, hey, and that. But dude was like, hey, it threw me off because he was like, hey, I want to come help out. I was like, huh?
Yeah, I was like, I saw it about the academy and I was like, hey, I think this is really cool. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for anything. I just want to help out because I think it's really cool.
It threw me off. I'm like, oh, you want to help? But yeah, and that's how we reached out. And then too, like in the society we work in now, like everybody wants to get these high-paying 6-figure gov tech jobs, but they don't want to actually do the work. And when you don't do the work, you're not going to get recommended further.
Yeah. And I think you should also evaluate your opportunities a lot, because if you have an opportunity to go into a software development role, it pays $10K less than what a traditional infrastructure role looks like, but you've never done anything in software development.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do a cost benefit analysis there, but it may be more beneficial for you to go to that software related job, because then that opens up the apparatus. Now you have a software background, a traditional on-prem infrastructure background, and that makes you even more marketable for your next opportunity whenever you have to leave there.
Yeah, like even with me, like, and we're gonna go back we was going at, but even with CMMC, like, I'll take a good paycheck. I mean, I'll take some money less so I can learn, and then once I learn, I can use that skill to go make the money elsewhere.
Yeah.
So I'll take that. So back to okay, you did great work at your job, then you got an opportunity. Just to kind of ask, how do you like negotiate? Was it like a 1099 role? Like how do you like kind of negotiate what you should? Because when I first got my first 1099 opportunity, I didn't really know how much to ask for. Like kind of explain that process,
Yeah, most people don't know what to ask.
Yeah.
And really, sometimes it's the job boards trying to see what's being offered based on your skill set, and sometimes it's about humbling yourself and just saying, I'm going to have to learn. I'm going to have to take a risk here, but is this going to be enough for me if I set this number? Use ChatGPT, figure out taxes, because you're going to have to pay taxes on all of that.
Right.
So you want to make sure you look at all of those factors prior to making the big jump into that opportunity.
Because what somebody else told me too, they was like, do what your current salary is and times it by 1,000 or something like that to get like a solid hourly rate.
Yeah.
You know, because people go crazy with the hourly rate. They be like 300. I'm like 300. Yeah, that's a lot of money, man.
Yeah. In GovCon, you know, right now it's a race to the bottom. If you speak to a lot of large defense contractors in government contracting, there's a cut that's going on a lot of times with rates right now. But really, if you are an employee and you're bringing in 200 a year, your company's probably bringing in about 300 a year just for your role.
Dang.
Because out of that 200 that you're getting, they also have to pay for all your benefits and time off and their back end corporate management infrastructure that they have. So all of those things are being taken out of that rate that they're charging the government. So you have to factor things like that into your cost structure.
Yeah, because like when I first started, it was the first role I had. Keep in mind, I'm an entry level ISO. So I was doing senior level work and they charged me as a senior to the government. So I'm looking in the back, I looked up my contract number and I looked how much I was making on it. They was making like $300-$400 an hour off me. I was like, dang.
Yes, sir.
And that's what kind of threw me off. I said, I need to get in that side. You know what I'm saying? I said 300. I said, y'all paying me $75K to do this role.
And even that's relationships, because that program manager is the one that's going to decide who are all his subcontractors, his or her subcontractors working on that project. And you have to get through their vetting process as well on the corporate side, probably. But if that PM really wants you, they're going to get you.
So that's game right there. So basically, whatever role you get, make sure you kill it. Make sure you make them money because they'll make you some money later on.
Yes.
That's basically what you
make the customer love you.
Okay.
Your PM needs to love you as well. But if the customer loves you, whenever you go to that PM and you ask them for the money, or that position, then if they know the customer relationship relies upon you being there, that brings your value at that point.
So that's real game, man. Because it's like a lot of people like after these people, because in business, you can't have emotions. So even if you did have a bad report, I mean, hey, it's not going to stop you from getting the money in the future, you know?
Yeah.
So that's a good game. Also, I heard like you can go on like Upwork and put your role out there, see if somebody can bite, you know, get some work off through that. I know I talked to Derron in the past. That's how he got his first contract. I think it was that's his first big one. Mm-hmm. So yeah, is that a route too? Or?
That is another route that a lot of people take. You'll see even on there, like people don't know what to even pay someone that's an expert in CMMC. So
it's a lot.
The money isn't always great on there sometimes when they're like, I'll give you $100 to write my entire corporate policy. And it's like,
ain't nothing, man. 100.
Can I do that? Can I do that? Because Upwork's going to take a piece of that. I got to take a piece of that. They're going to tax me on it as well. So is that worth it at that point? So you really just got to understand what you're willing to take.
So as a person that's trying to start bidding on contracts, say you don't have that much experience and not, you know, maybe not technical or have some technical experience, but you want to do tech contracts, like where would you start looking for these contracts?
I would actually recommend them to join a team of companies that already have the great experience and relationships in that organization the contract may go after. And really, it's going to be your relationship that you rely on more than your experience at all. Because if the government puts out a contract requirement that has a position for a more junior individual, if you want to bring yourself or your company into that role, it's quite possible, but it's only from your relationship that you're going to get that opportunity. And those aren't posted online.
Yeah, they're not.
They're not posted anywhere at all, unless you see it on SAM. You see an RFP on SAM, but if you see an RFP on SAM, they probably already started doing their teaming development a year in advance. So you're probably already behind. But if you look at forecasts that agencies put out, that forecast will tell you in spring or Q3 FY26, this is the contract that we're going to go after, that we're going to put out a solicitation for. That would be your way to actually identify opportunities early and find out who's going to bid and join that team.
So back to that. So like when I was trying to decide, I had two choices. I wanted to either do tech woke or I wanted to do straight government contracting. So I started dabbling in government contracting. So what I started doing was, like you said, the forecasting. I saw who was already on current contracts I was already on. I was actually reaching out to these people and I was actually getting calls back on certain contracts, but even like one guy offered me, he said, hey, well, you can probably do a 1099, or you can just come work for us and then see we can work something out. But so is that a route too? Like,
Yeah.
just say, hey, can I just work for you 1099 instead of actually doing that actual role?
That's actually one of the more so if you don't already work for that company, because if you work for that company, a lot of people I've spoken to that do that, it takes years of working with that company in order to finally get onto a contracting, independent contractor position. But if you show up as a 1099, that's the way that a lot of people get on, and they're the master of their future at that point.
Okay.
So whenever you need to make sure you understand how much you're going to ask them for at that point too. Because if you don't ask for the right amount of money and you ask for $100,000, remember the government's taking taxes out of all of that.
Like 30 or more.
And then if you're in a county and you're in Maryland here, for example, oh yeah, you're getting taxed by your county at that point as well. You have to be responsible for all your benefits, time off, all of that. So everyone has to be aware of that as they're putting their foot out for those.
Yeah, because I was watching a breakdown. It's a guy on YouTube. He breaks it down. He broke it down like, this is what you're gonna get, and you got to understand. You got insurance. You got 401k. You got all these things, and by the time this is what you're gonna have left, and you really got to be. And then too, as a 1099, you're getting taxed more, unless you got a good accountant, you know. But it's a lot of things you got to think about, because people just think about the money. And most people I know, including yourself, that's in the government, like actually working for yourself, y'all super busy, because y'all got to make sure y'all with timesheets are good, because you're billing the government. It's just a different beast. Yeah. So like off of just building your connections, right? Okay, so you're working in space, you're building your connections, you locked in your connections. At what point can you don't need them? No, you're still going to need them, but how do you get the contracting opportunities without them?
You really have to determine if that's what you want.
You got to, okay, so you can go you can go, hey, I'm good subbing.
Yeah, I know several companies, the small business owners, that have said, I just want to be a subcontractor. I don't want to be a prime, because once you become a prime, then you have all of these compliance things you have to do, task orders and siege rules, and they're like, I don't want to do that. I would much rather just have my people out there doing the work and make sure that we're excellent in exactly what we're doing, supporting our primary customers. So you really have to determine what do you want that trajectory look like for your company and yourself in the future.
Yeah, because when I was looking into it, it was like, okay, there's companies that sold 20 million, just off of being a sub. You got to really decide but the only issue with being a sub, sometimes, like, you're indebted to that company. So sometimes if they want to act funny, you have no choice, because you're indebted to that company, so.
And you get paid after your prime gets paid.
Yeah.
So when the government is taking 6 months, because I was speaking with a potential partner a while ago, and one of the things they said, it took 5 months from the start of the contract to the first check that they got. And that was for the prime. So now the prime has to pay the sub. So that's almost 6 months that you've gone without a check coming in for the work that you're doing. So if you have employees, you're paying their salary that entire time.
Straight up.
And you're probably not getting the check, but you have to figure that out. So those are things that everyone needs to be aware of coming into this space.
Yeah, because there's a lot of pressure. Because even I've seen they have like loan companies specifically for the government space that they pay the payroll for you, but then you're gonna owe them more money.
Yes, and there's another way that people work it out with their prime contractor to kind of help them get their books in order and prepared for this.
Okay, so like as you're growing, I'm sorry. So like even for you, like so. How are you networking now? Are you still just building good connections with the companies, or are you going to networking events? Like, how are you building relationships with these people?
Leveraging the relationships I've already had, and continuing to build new relationships as I go forward. And a lot of my focus has been in the CMMC space, though. And for that, it's really about going to the events where the small businesses are. So C takes care of not only, we don't really just say small business, but it's really the micro small and small. So up to 100 FTE, the smallest we've worked with is about 15 FTE, full-time employees. And as we're working with them, it's primarily because they're the ones that are left out. So I've been to several conferences and events where a large contractor in the space has said, for a 20-person company, you can look at spending $200K a year to just make them CMMC certified and maintain that compliance. I find that to be completely outrageous.
That's a lot of money.
One of my companies I've spoken to has said that my profit last year was $100K.
Dang.
So how is it that I can pay them 200 to keep going? So with that, I always want to focus on those smaller companies to make sure that they can see their dreams come true still.
Okay, so you kind of pick a niche.
Yeah.
And just stick with that niche, and through that, they might become a big company.
Yes.
And then you're going to always have them locked in for a long time.
And they have a stronger relationship with me, because most of the time I'm speaking directly with the CEO of the company or president of the company. And I'm working directly with their IT person, or they don't have an IT person. They're just like, Derron, I really just have some questions that I need answered. And can you help me make sure that my corporate iPhones are secure and they're not taking my data out? So those are the things that I end up working on a lot of times with those small businesses, and using tools that are all inclusive. So if you look at Microsoft 365, you get a E5 license or G5 license for the government, specifically.
From the company, right?
For the company.
For the company.
Yep. So I completely get those licenses for them, configure their environment for them, and maintain the security of that environment as well.
Okay, so I see what you're doing. So you just pick a niche, and if they need small little things, you help them out with it, but it still build the relationship better with the companies.
Yep.
That's smart, man. Because I know with CMMC, just the pre-check is $15,000.
If you need it.
Yeah, if you need. But would you get it though? I would get it first though before you
Some
say.
People don't need it.
Okay.
A lot of the small companies, they have nothing in place. So what are you checking?
Okay.
And a lot of times you're blowing up the infrastructure that they have, figuratively. So you're going to take away the infrastructure that they have and build them an entirely new environment in the GCC high or GCC environment for Microsoft 365. And why am I doing a check on that when I'm about to get an entirely new architecture?
Okay.
Yes, you can look at my policies, but do you have policies in the first place?
Yeah. Because I know with CMMC, y'all use EMAS, or do y'all use other software?
So eventually your results go into EMAS after you go through a CMMC third-party assess organization assessment, which that's the equivalent of getting a SCA in RMF to look at your package.
So Derron, so we talked about RMF, with how you got into it. We talked about the government contracting space, but I just want to kind of get into some of the trending topics of things that people are got in their minds. Like, for example, how do you feel about this? Do you think RMF is still a technical role? Do you think it's technical?
I believe it is.
Okay, why?
I believe it is primarily because it takes all of your knowledge to truly understand the technology in order to advise appropriately how to mitigate risk, or to generate a risk response, mitigation, transference, acceptance, whatever that may be. If you don't understand the technology, you don't understand adversarial capabilities, I don't know if you'll be as effective as you would desire to be in responding to that risk.
Yeah, and I agree with you, because at first I was saying it was non-technical, right? But then I'm actually reading about, I'm talking about the AI NIST framework, and I'm saying, how can we implement this? And we're trying to come up with plans. And I'm like, yeah, it's a technical role.
Yes.
Highly technical. You got to break this down to people.
Yeah, I think that Ron Ross speaks to it a lot, who was like the godfather of system security engineering and the RMF as we know it at NIST. And now he's transitioned from there. But a lot of the things he's talking about and a lot of things we need to think about are very technical topics. So if we look at system security engineering, though you may be an information system security officer, you're not doing engineering. You need to understand how the architecture of your system can impact the overall security of that system and the compliance of your record.
Okay. Do you think, another topic we want to hit on is, do you think AI will take over system administrators' jobs, cyber jobs, or do you think it will create them?
AI is going to be a part of everyone's job, whether it takes your job or it augments it. So McDonald's, if you look at things that have happened there, you have kiosk in every single one now. There's no longer a large thing of people taking your order anymore. So people have lost jobs. However, people still do have jobs.
You still have it.
So I think that's a similar thing that we're going to see at least in the foreseeable future. Now, later on down the line, as AI becomes more advanced, maybe that will take more jobs. across the board, but I think right now you're in a pretty secure space.
Because at this point, I'm like, should I just learn AI? Should I just learn it? Will that solve all my problems? Should I learn how to code? It's like, yeah, but I do think it's going to create jobs too. You still have to create. Somebody has to code it.
Yeah.
Still secure it.
I think everyone, if you want, I mean, it can do its own code itself too, though. So it can build itself, according to Nick, right? He said he built the entire Ask Sage by it coded itself for the most part. So I think that if anybody wants to ensure that they stay relevant, and that's the thing that we have to think about in any part of tech, you can never stay stagnant. You can never think that you're going to come into this space and come as you are and leave as you are. You will not do that. You're going to have to come in. There's going to be a change in your life, in your thought processes and your behaviors. And you have to continue to learn and change and grow over time, because you're going to get into a new role with software development and you never looked at it before. What are you going to do? You have to learn about a CI/CD pipeline. You have to learn about what the platform looks like. You have to learn about the entire development life cycle. If it goes into agile development, you have to know how to integrate yourself into every environment and understand different aspects of technology.
Yeah, because even how you're explaining it now, I'm like, I can tell you seasoned at breaking these things down. You're breaking it fluid. And no hitches, no. Yeah, but so another thing I wanted to top on is a lot of people are thinking like tech is like a job where you can just make money and just chill, relax. Do you think that's still what it is now, or you have to learn something now?
I think there are people that are going to do that in any profession. And I think those are the same people that will get left behind, or they should be left behind, just being honest, right? So I think you always need to make sure that your skills stay relevant, that you are continue to contribute for yourself and contribute for others to be successful in the career field. And I always tie this back to my whole mindset, right? You serve wholeheartedly as if you're serving Lord, not man. And for you to give your whole heart in something, it will require you to make yourself better in order to make others better.
Yeah, that's the main thing I'm trying to keep. And you always got to keep, because I talk to so many friends that are starting to become successful in what they do, and they start to get saddened about like things that's going on. But as long as you keep God first, you're going to be good. God take care of you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think that's the very first thing. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added upon you, right? So I think that's what everyone has to remember as they're going through it.
Okay. And then lastly, like for people that's trying to get into cyber, in today's times, it's a different times. Back then you can get an AWS cert and get a job. Security plus get a job, probably 6 figures. What should people focus on now to get a job in cyber? Because I'm talking to so many people. I have worked with people. They're not getting a job. Like what's going on?
Oh, so we used to be able to just get the certifications and everything. I'm seeing more and more requirements for degrees now. That's one of the more modern things that's happening. A lot of people used to just get certifications. Now I'm seeing a lot more requirements for degrees or experience. And a lot of people trying to break in that don't have the degree, they don't have the experience. So I'm seeing degrees pop up a lot more. But I would also say that you need to make sure that you have some knowledge of technology and not just think you're going to come in as a help desk, not even just help desk, right? You come in as a data entry clerk or something, and data entry is going to make you very successful as a ISSO. You have to have the technical background right now. And a lot of people are getting that through. You have free resources that you can get that through. edX has a lot of free courses you can take. But really you have to develop relationships. So I met a young guy, he just showed up to a CMMC event.
Oh, you did?
And he was like graduating from a boot camp type program. And he was just networking. And I think the fact that he was networking led to eventually he ended up getting his first opportunity from his network.
You know that.
So that's really what a lot of people have to do. Build your network, LinkedIn, make sure you're active on there. If you're just saying, hey, this is what I'm learning right now, over time, that portfolio and that people having you in the front of their mind will benefit you.
Yeah, because even me now, I post so much on LinkedIn at this point. I know you.
I don't know how you do it at all.
I know I post like 7 times in the episode. You know, I joke with people. They be like, "Oh, I saw your post," but even with that, it's showing that I do know some things about RMF it shows you can connect with certain things. And I think in the future, if I do pursue the government contractor thing, I'm gonna change that and to show how I can help the companies. But leveraging social media, building a network, I think that's a good skill, especially showing on. And I keep telling people, why don't you just post? If you work on a project, just post on LinkedIn. People watching. People would not say a word but watch you for years. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, or then we reach out to them, they be like, "Oh, I already know who you are. I've been waiting for this." So that's how it works. Like Derek, he doesn't know this, but I was following him 3 years because I was a big fan. I'm still a fan of a lot of people in the space, and I was like, I wonder how I talk to him. I saw him as YouTube. He had Aspire Cyber and all that stuff going on. I was like, I wonder how I'm gonna get. And then like 3 years later, I finally talked to him. I was like, I was shocked. So I was like, damn, I could actually meet. And I'm a fan of Henry Davis, and even he helps me out with a lot when it comes to this type of podcast. And it's a lot in this game, so you just gotta show. And he's only, a lot of people help you when they see you working.
Yep.
Yeah. So even you, I know you. Some people be like, well, I'm trying to get in tech. Oh, well, okay, we'll see you. We'll see if you still like it next month. 3 months later, then once you see him actually do something, he was like, hey, bro, come sit down with me. That's how it works. Because it's a buzzword. So, Derron, this is a great podcast. Where can the audience find you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, Derron King Jr, Derron. Not very common spelling.
Yep.
And that's primarily where you can get me. If you want to go to a website, see it is s33dtech.com. And yeah, you can just connect with me there. More than happy to speak to you about how I can help you transition into this space, advance in this space, or how we may even collaborate if you would like to do that. So yeah, that'll be the best place to get me.
So companies, reach out to Derron. Everybody, if you have any questions, just reach out to him and give you some good knowledge. Another thing I like to ask the guests, what is one thing you want to leave with the audience? It can be a quote, something that you want to keep them motivated. It can be a statement, quote, anything. Which would one? Let me squeeze something. Let me see where you start at. So yeah, that's okay. So with that, also, I like to always ask the guests, there's always a quote, statement you can always lead the audience with. For you, somebody that wants to get into cyber, pursue tech, what would you want to leave with them to pursue their career?
I'd say that you want to ensure that you give everything that you can to being as much of an expert in your area of expertise as possible. So if you are going to go into software development, learn as much as you can about 2 languages, maybe as much as you can. Build products with it, put those products out. Be okay with not knowing everything and be okay with some bit of failure along the path. Don't give up on yourself. If you do that, then you're going to lead to the place that you want to be in. And if you're in a management role, if you're already in another position, like I said earlier, one of my friends got a job from a relationship that she didn't know would pan out 5 years later because she did her best at the time when that person was around. And I would say continue to serve wholeheartedly. And that's why Ephesians 6:7 is the thing that I look at. It's also in Colossians, but serve wholeheartedly as if you were serving the Lord, not man. And all of these things will lead to a result that's positive for you.
Yeah, preach. I love that. It's good because even with me, I feel so much when it comes to podcasting, when it comes to working in the field. I mean, there's been times I've been on meetings and I couldn't even explain a simple topic. I'm talking about either the meeting, they all in teams is going in on me. You know what I'm saying? So I've been embarrassed at some point, and you can't be afraid to fail. Like I fail all the time. But one thing I will say, you fail. Like I was watching Squid Games season 2. I'm not ready for season 3 yet, and I was like, the guy came back, right? And he already knew what to do because he already been through it, So, you just got to adapt. You know what to do. So, you just got to adapt. And lastly, what is one thing you want to do in the next 5 years so I can reach out to you and be like, hey, Derron, you say you want to do this. It's been 5 years. Like, what's going on, brother? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's one big thing you want to do?
I want 6 kids on an open farm. No,
I should write that. I don't, bro, 6.
No. I think the thing that I really want to do at that point is I want to be able to say that I've mentored or helped 10 people get into this career path and that they feel like they're successful in going into this career path. And I also want to be able to say that we've been able to participate in several opportunities in at least 3 different agencies. Because if you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, we see that now with all the changes going on in government. But I want to be able to say we've been able to compete in opportunities and successfully perform in 3 different opportunities at 3 different agencies.
Okay, yeah, that's doable, and that's good. I was going, you want to make like 30 million or something, but I know it's not about the money with you. It's more about serving, and God will deliver things
Yep.
to you. So
Yeah.
I understand. So Derron, thank you for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate you coming all the way out, driving an hour. I really appreciate you, and just off of this, you can probably mentor 10 people at once. So you might get your goal right then.
All right, maybe one at a time.
I got you. By the time I got you. Yeah, so I love it. So I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
So thank you everybody for watching the Tech Woke podcast. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, like the video, comment down below if you have any thoughts on what's going on. Share the video. Also check out rmfacademy.io to see if you can check out any courses on how to get into RMF. Check out the newsletter. Check out the merch. And remember, everybody, get 1% better every day. Peace out. I'll see you on the next one.